Yes, he proved that, Skip. I don't believe they win the Super Bowl. I don't believe they're in the Super Bowl without Odell. And if you saw Skip, he was getting better and better. The first game, the Cardinals, and then the next game against Tampa, and then the next game against San Francisco, and he started out this game faster than he did any of those games. So it looked like what they were trying to do, they were going to take Cooper Kupp away, and they were going to roll the dice. Either Eli Apple, you take him man-to-man, he's on your side, or Woozier, you take him man-to-man, he's on your side. He got Hilton in the slot playing the number 3 position. Hilton is considered the best slot corner in the football. And Odell got behind him like it was
but he's up there.
Yeah, especially come playoff time. He's been sensational. He's been lights out in the playoffs. And so for me, Skip, I think he had proved that I'm Odell, because the Rams had done a great job of playing to what Odell does really well, Skip. He's very good route runner. He's a great route runner. He has tremendous lateral quickness and allowing him to high point the football. They can catch on Hilton in the end zone. He high pointed the football. He's a hand catcher. And so they've done a great job of putting him in position so he can use his hands, so he can use his quickness. I believe he had silenced the critics. They said, okay, this is the Odell. He's getting back to being the Odell that we saw in New York. That's what I thought they had. Now, we don't know the extent of this injury. Hopefully, knocking on wood, is something that he can come back from fairly quickly. But if it's an ACL, Skip,
I think it's an ACL.
Skip,
That's what they're reporting.
You're looking at the earliest he's getting back is November, December. That's at the earliest, because he's not going to have surgery probably till what, end of this month, maybe the beginning of March. So even Adrian Peterson, who was bionic, it still took him 8 months to get back. So even he goes on the timeline the AP did. You're looking at November, December, maybe even January.
It's why Kawhi Leonard is not going to be back for this basketball season.
Exactly.
It's 12 months.
Right. It doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
So,
and as Brady said a month or so ago, this is a lifetime injury. Once you tear an ACL, it's so crucial to the movement of the knee that it's hard to ever get it right. And it went again.
Right, it did. And Skip, you see the way he had 2 catches. They had thrown him 2 targets. He had 52 yards. He was on his way to having a monster game. Odell was going to, because they had made an effort. They were going to take Cooper Kupp away. And Matthew Stafford did not have a problem. How many times can he throw the ball to Van Jefferson, and Van Jefferson's not there to answer his call? How many times can he throw the ball to Skowronek, and he's not there to answer the call? It came down to Patrick, and it came down to Cooper Kupp. And on that last drive, Cooper Kupp ended up with 8 for 92. 4 of those came on the last drive, Skip. So for me, Odell proved that he was back to being Odell again, and unfortunately, he suffered an injury in the Super Bowl.
Okay, when you say he proved he's back to being a top receiver, are we talking about a top 10 receiver? What kind of is he an absolute number 1 receiver now? Yes. But not a top 10 receiver.
I believe he was a top 10 receiver. I believe Odell had played his way, he was in that kind of shape. His mind was where it needed to be. There was no more distractions. He had grown up. He understood who and what he was, and he was content with that. Yes, I do believe Odell Beckham was going to be that top 10 receiver this year.
Okay. All right. I'm going to preface everything I say about Odell Beckham Jr. with, I really like him off the field, and I agree with your premise that he has grown up and wised up and become a man and a professional right before your eyes, because we went through this whole year with it was the back half of the year, but it was all quiet on the Western Front, right?
Yes.
We heard nothing out of Odell. There was no diva behavior. There was no wave making. He was content. He barely caught many passes down the 8 games that he did play. He was catching 3 a game for about 38 yards, but he did not complain.
Right.
He just came to work.
Right.
And it looked like he worked hard to figure out Matt Stafford and vice versa. And once they got to the playoffs, to your point, it started to click.
Right.
And it started to produce at a higher and higher rate. My issue with Odell was simply he had a chance. He could have gone home to New Orleans. They wanted him, by all accounts, badly. They don't have Mike Thomas, obviously. And Odell could have gone right down to New Orleans, again, without a clear-cut number 1 quarterback.
Right.
But you could have gone in there and said, I'm number 1 here. I'm going to take this team over.
Well,
right?
there's number 1 with no quarterback.
Okay, but I'm just saying, if you wanted to, You could just say, I'm the guy. I'm going to my hometown to turn my hometown team around because it lost its number one receiver, a guy who he won Offensive Player of the Year, right? Was it?
Yeah, no, what you call him won it. The only one receiver, Jerry won it.
Didn't Mike Thomas win? I thought he won it. Didn't he?
Didn't
he win the award? Seemed like he won something, or MVP or something.
No, he didn't win MVP.
Okay, but he won.
Yeah, he might have won Offensive Player of the Year.
I think he won Offensive Player of the Year. But anyway, the point is, it shocked me when Odell chose the Rams because the guy we're not talking about yet is Robert Woods.
Right.
And you acknowledged to me that when Odell got there, Robert Woods was definitely better than Odell at this stage of his career.
Yes.
You said that. Well, what if they'd had Robert Woods last night? Lord have mercy.
And that
right?
But here's the thing. Is Odell better than Jefferson and the other guy?
For a while, it was a push with Jefferson because they do like Jefferson because he can run now.
That's why they got.
But he's not trustable on running the route.
That's why they signed Odell, because you was thinking, hold on, we got Kupp 1, Woods 2, our third receiver will be Odell.
That's what they were thinking.
And then correct. All of a sudden, Robert.
If it worked with Odell and they couldn't be sure, but they were going to bring him in and hope. And remember, he's had 3 surgeries in the last
3 years.
3 years. Yeah, 3 surgeries because he's had all kinds of things go wrong.
And he broke his ankle, had an ankle surgery.
It robbed him a little bit of quickness and speed. Although I will give you this, early on last night, that's why it got me that he got hurt, because I wanted to see him finish the game and see what happened, because this Bengals team has one thing going for it. It won't go away.
No.
You think you got them, and you don't got them.
Right.
And they'll just keep on fighting, because they'll fight you on defense is where they'll fight you.
Yes.
And they'll make plays because they were hot as a defense, opportunistically hot.
Right.
So I wanted this thing to get hot in the second half where we could see Odell rise and shine. But again, where he was brilliant in his choice, you want to talk about shining in a shadow? You're shining in the shadow of the most productive receiver in the history of the game for 1 year, right?
But that's the thing, though, Skip. You saw the explosion that he showed on that shallow cross.
I
he
love
caught that ball.
That one especially.
Now he showed the explosion. But see, Skip, that's the thing. Jefferson can do that. There's still Cooper Kupp over there. Jefferson couldn't make those plays.
I'll give you that. He's better than Jefferson. I don't think he's better than Robert Woods, because Robert Woods is hellacious.
Robert Woods.
You want to talk about running across the middle routes?
Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are more alike than Odell and Kupp, or Odell and Woods.
That is true. So especially if they had remember, Robert Woods tears his ACL the day Odell walks in the door, and in practice on a Friday. Remember this? Mm-hmm. How do you tear your ACL?
Right.
Who knows? It's like the injury god said, sorry, right, for this year. And he was the guy comforting Odell in the locker room last night, said I was holding him, hugging him.
Right.
Because you don't think Robert Woods can relate.
Knows exactly. And Skip, I know, I tore my MCL in the Super Bowl 33. So I know what Odell is good. The only thing the only saving grace is that we won the game. Can you imagine you going out injured and you lose the game knowing that you was going to be a major contributor?
Yep.
You had started off being a major contributor. A touchdown, a 35-yard catch and run. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm in the money. You had 2 touchdowns on the first 4 drives. And then guess what happened, Skip? That thing went real stagnant.
Yep.
It went real stagnant.
No, I agree. And I will give you this in closing on Odell. That touchdown catch was a good route, because remember, he and Baker were always not on the same page. Right. And Baker's camp was always saying he's breaking off routes, he's freelancing routes.
Right.
They just never connected. And this touchdown throw, number one, it's a really good throw.
It's a great throw.
You can't throw it any better than he threw it. And number two, you got Odell at his peak just going up. That he does that. And he is a hands catcher.
Yes.
Well, hey, he just might be the best hands catcher in the history of the game, because the pregame shows are better than the in-game shows a lot of times, right?
He has tremendous hands.
Yeah.
But, Skip, I think the thing is that, you said to go to New Orleans. Skip, Taysom Hill. Jameis had gotten hurt. You got Trevor Siemian. Mm-hmm. I'm not going there. I'm not going there to be a number one. I always go back and look at what could D. Hopkins' numbers look like if he wasn't catching balls from Keenum and Brock Osweiler and Tom Savage and this one and that one. Had he had a legit quarterback. Now, he made Pro Bowls, he made All Pros, but just think about what his numbers could look like with a true number one quarterback. Odell says, you know what? I would rather go somewhere, be 2 or 3 with a solid quarterback, as opposed to going somewhere and being number one, and I ain't got no quarterback. Because guess what, Skip? I'm going to get 2 to 3 passes, and people going to say Odell can't get it done.
Yep.
Because I don't have the quarterback that's capable of getting me the football.
Yep.
He went, and Matthew Stafford showed, giving him the opportunity,
Yep.
Odell can play.
Well, and yet what I hated the most for him last night was he is a free agent once again.
Yes.
He could have commanded big dollars if he had finished off this game as you say, a monster game.
Yes.
And I also think the USFL would come into play for Odell because they're going to want a big gate attraction, and I think he will be a big draw.
No, we ain't got
the
enough for him.
Well, they're going to have a bunch of money to spend, trust me.
That is interesting.
Yep.
The last thing he tweeted last night was, "Thank you all for the love and support. God always has a plan. He made me a Super Bowl champ. I'm so grateful." So at least he's optimistic in that way. And he's got a baby on the way. Like, there's a lot of good things going for OBJ.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.